10 million? The crowd exchanged astonished glances when they heard him. Ordinary citizens couldn't even dream of earning that much money in their lifetime. How could Dustin make such a bold statement? Do you even have that kind of money? Abigail asked, shocked and anxious. Come on, don't show off when you don't even have that much money. You'll only end up embarrassing yourself. Mike said scornfully, giving Dustin a disdainful look. Although he dared not challenge the chubby man again, he still had the audacity to look down on Dustin. There was no way he believed a shabby-looking country bumpkin could win against someone as wealthy as Chubster. You're just spouting nonsense to show off, right? Well, let's see how this ends. Nina snorted, not believing that someone like Dustin would have $10 million. Who the fuck said that? Surprised, Chubster glanced around the room frostily. It was me. Dustin stood up slowly, his stare icy. Are you challenging me? Chubster sneered. Are you sure a beggar like you has $10 million? And what if I do? Dustin retorted. Then you can have the girl. If you don't, you'll have to get on your knees in front of everyone and bark like a dog, Chubster taunted. Upon hearing that, the crowd roared enthusiastically. After all, the show had gone from just competing with money to verbal insults. Why don't we just let this go? Fighting against someone like him is pointless. Abigail advised Dustin. Truth be told, she doubted Dustin as well. After all, he wouldn't be staying in her home if he had $10 million. Of course not. He challenged me, so how can I back down now? Dustin replied nonchalantly. But this is $10 million we're talking about, not $1 million. Abigail cried, feeling desperate. She dreaded the thought of seeing Dustin bark like a dog for the chubby man. Don't worry. It's just $10 million. No biggie, Dustin answered with a smile. Do you think you're a billionaire? Just $10 million? Yeah, right. Nina snorted. How could a country bumpkin like him have $10 million when even someone as rich as Mike was struggling? Let him be. We should just let him keep acting. Mike smiled coolly. Hey. What are you guys mumbling about over there? Chubster shouted. Are you going to do it or not? Get lost if you're not. You're ruining my mood. Who says I'm not going to? Dustin smirked. But we should make it fair. The person who loses has to kneel and bark like a dog. How about that? Are you trying to scare me? Ha, you're on. Chubster retorted boldly. I get down on my knees and start barking if you can produce $10 million. We have a deal. Dustin smiled and pulled out his card, tossing it to the owner. I'd like to treat that lady to $10 million. Are you serious? The owner gripped the card, bewildered. His entire establishment wasn't even worth that much money. Why would I lie? Swipe it. The PAN is 666666, Dustin replied calmly. All right, then. The owner gulped and ran to the counter to process the request. Chubster started feeling nervous when he saw how confident Dustin was. Don't tell me that shabby kid actually has that much money, he thought. The rest of the crowd also began exchanging uncertain glances. Despite how plainly dressed Dustin was, his confident and collected demeanor made people think twice about their opinions of him. They began to believe that he was either a regular braggart or someone who actually had $10 million. As everyone waited silently for the results, the restaurant owner walked over and said, "My apologies, sir, but the PIN was wrong, and the transaction failed." Wrong? Dustin was surprised. Wasn't his PIN 666666? Did he remember wrongly? What about the 10 million you were talking about? Chubster burst out laughing. Why bother pretending if you're poor? Did you think you could get away with it by acting? What a joke. TSK, turns out he's just a braggart. I nearly believed him. I know, right? And it must be embarrassing to get your lie exposed like that. Everyone cast their mocking and disdainful gazes at him, believing that the wrong PIN was his excuse to escape from paying. There was no way they'd allow him to get the attention without paying the money. That's such a stupid trick. Only you would use that kind of excuse. Mike scoffed loudly. What kind of friend do you have, Abigail? He's so shameless. Isn't it bad enough that he's poor? How could he pretend to be wealthy? Nina sneered. Exactly. Who knew someone who looks as good as him would do something like that? The group Dustin was sitting with began chipping in with scornful comments, feeling ashamed. I told you not to act like a hero. Abigail frowned, her face burning slightly. Instead of responding to the mockery, Dustin turned to the owner and said, "If the PN isn't 666666, then it's 888888. Try again." "Are you sure?" The owner raised an eyebrow, displeased. He was sure he was being toyed with. "Yes." Dustin nodded. "Fine. I hope it's correct this time." The owner smirked before heading back to the counter. "Pilt. Keep acting, then." Chubster sneered. "Let's see how long you can keep this up." "I guess people just don't know when to give up," Mike quipped. "Doesn't he find it embarrassing to keep up with the act when he's already been exposed?" Nina humphed in disgust. Dustin had clearly turned into a clown, and the onslaught of insults and jeers never stopped. Just then, the owner rushed over anxiously and stammered, "It's wrong, sir." "What?" "It's still wrong." Dustin frowned. Those surrounding him burst out laughing this time. "This trick again. Can't you think of something new? I've met people who are shameless, but none who are as shameless as you. Stop joking around. Get to your knees and start barking." "How shameful." "Well, you had it coming." By then, Chubster, Mike, and everyone else was blatantly laughing at him. "You're all mistaken. It's not the PN that's wrong, it's the amount I keyed in," the owner cried out, panicked. "I was supposed to key in $10 million, but I accidentally added another zero, and the amount became $100 million. Worse, the transaction has already gone through, so I can't fix it. I'm so sorry." Instantly, the room went pin-drop silent.